Hello, my name is Jonathan Jacobs. Today I will be talking about understanding the value of degree. This is in the 5-minute research series addressing complex higher education questions in short presentations. Higher education critics look at recent college graduates and debt at graduation and ask questions. Is a college degree still worth it? Or are you better served to getting a job right out of high school? Is work experience more important? Now, I could talk about unemployment rates and other factors, but for simplicity today, I will speak only about average earnings. A quick U.S. Census search on median individual earnings in 2010 shows us that a person with a bachelor's degree earns over $57,000, compared to $31,000 for a high school graduate. This is on average in all age groups. Now, critics of higher education say that a college graduate cannot earn that type of money right out of college, and they also argue that the amount of debt they need to go into to get an education will offset the value of the degree. So let's look at the cost of the degree, and for this analysis I will be referring to U.S. Census average earnings by both education and age, which will reflect the difference in earning power from a younger population compared to an older population. So if we pretend we have two hypothetical average people, one getting a job right out of high school and the other going to college, according to the U.S. Census, the high school graduate would only be earning $15,000 right out of high school. A resident going to the University of Oregon would be paying $24,000 for 4 years, and we will assume extremely conservatively that nobody helped them pay and they did not work at all while in school. At age 22, that puts them almost $150,000 in net earnings below their high school peer. But wait, something's not fair here. Unless the high school graduate lived at home, the high school graduate would have to pay for rent, food, travel, and personal expenses. He or she would need to use his income to do that. The cost of education has that built in, about $13,000 per year for room and board and personal expenses. That's $52,000 over 4 years. So to make these numbers more comparable, let's take that out of the cost of education. So now the student will be paying room and board while in college, but since we don't account for that for the high school student, this does make it more comparable. And after this adjustment, the gap closes significantly, with an opportunity cost of about $100,000 to go to college over 4 years. As a reminder, this is conservative as it estimates the college student has no income, no scholarships, and no parental support. We do see that a college graduate starts out with a lower salary, but by age 25 they are earning more than $41,000 on average, rising rapidly as they age. Before the students are 30 years old, we reach the break-even point, where on average a college degree results in greater net earnings than merely a high school diploma. Moving forward in time, the increased earnings potential only increases. By the time these people are 64 years old, the person with a college degree will have earned $1 million more than the person without a college degree. And this is an average of all higher education across the nation for bachelor's recipients. Now, this is a snapshot data using U.S. Census, and we're talking about earnings across generations. But this still reflects today's market rate at which people with degrees are being paid. Also, this only talks about earning potential. It does not discuss other benefits, such as having a healthier workplace, happier workplace, greater personal challenge in the workplace, civic engagement, likelihood to vote, donate, volunteer, and generate social connections, all of which are much more likely for a person with a college degree. Now, before I end, let's do one more thought experiment. This one's specific to the University of Oregon. I assumed early on that the college graduate would not work or get scholarships. Now let's create a hypothetical situation where both of these things are true. First, tuition and fees are almost $10,000 a year for a resident student. If a resident student is Pell eligible with at least a 3.4 high school GPA, they will be eligible for Pathway Oregon program, which will cover tuition and fees. This will reduce the cost of their education by $40,000. Now let's make that adjustment. And this closes the gap significantly for low-income students, those where the gap in college costs is the most important. Let's make one more adjustment. Let's say the student worked a part-time job 20 hours per week at $9 per hour. This works out to about $9,000 per year. Not a huge salary, but it helps pay for tuition, room and board, yet still leaves the student time for studies. So for a hypothetical Pathway Oregon student working part-time and ignoring room and board to make them comparable to the high school student, guess what? College is not much of a sacrifice after all. The opportunity cost for going to college is greatly diminished compared to the average high school student. Now, this is not to say that a Pathway student will have no debt coming out of college. Room and board and personal expenses are real costs, and paying for these costs over 4 years in addition to tuition and fees and books is a driving reason why nearly half of University of Oregon students graduate with debt. But this does highlight that compared to just a high school degree, the value is very real. That's my presentation. This is Jonathan Jacobs. This has been a 5-minute research presentation on understanding the value of a degree.